Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Big Picture podcast. I'm your host, Adam Markievich. Before we get going, let me remind you to follow us on all the socials @_ the Big Picture. Let me introduce today's panel, and I might give away some hints at today's topic. First of all, we're joined by our very own Oscar, the smooth talking fish of the group, Jack Graham. Jack, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for the Oscar reference. As I'm sure I just only our pals that take listen to this podcast, big Will Smith fan, obviously. So
yeah,
I'm happy with that.
I'm glad. Next up, we have our very own Master Shifu. He's a great teacher. He can kill you in a million ways. It's Lewis.
I love how all my introductions usually involve some form of violence. Like, I just walk through the street mean mugging people and giving them left, right, good night.
It means we don't have to for security. I was gonna say when we go on tour, we don't have to get security. Everyone's just they know you by reputation, so we've just got you. Saves a lot of money at the budget.
Yeah, well, I think that money should go up if I'm pulling double shifts here, so that budget is spiked up.
Last up, we have our donkey. Nothing else. It's Donkey. Rhys Cook, how you doing?
I was, when you said Oscar, I didn't know who it was, and then I worked it out. And then when you said Master Shifu, I was like, oh, I don't know who that was, and I worked it out as well. And I was thinking, oh, he's gonna give me a name here. I'm gonna have no idea who it is. Could have run any character in the whole industry, and you've gone for Donkey. So thanks very much. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Now, I'd love to be introducing our last panelist as Marty the Zebra, but sadly he can't make it. Stuart, once again, is busy. You know, he doesn't have time for the podcast anymore. What can I say? And also, to preface, before we get to the topic, one last thing. Lewis was our People's Champion from last week. No votes from the Harry Potter experts, but votes from the public.
I did say it like in the chat, like it felt like such a hollow victory because I put next to no effort because I literally picked the only film I've been able to sit down and watch all the way. So while I don't really feel like I deserved it, I'm fucking taking it.
Gary Oldman probably carried you, I have to say, all the way to victory there.
It's Gary Oldman. You can't disrespect the Oldman.
And now our topic today, if you haven't guessed it, it's DreamWorks animated pictures. And they're creators of such classic films as Shrek, The Bee Movie, Shark Tale, Madagascar, Kung Fu Panda. I'm just going to head to the lads to hear about DreamWorks. Gotta go, first off, Jack, what's your first memory of watching a DreamWorks animated film?
I need to double check dates, but it's either Shark Tale or Shrek. I think Shark Tale was 2004, Shrek was 2001. But for some reason, I do think I saw Shark Tale before I saw Shrek. So I think it was just that. I remember, back in the day, you could go to Odeon on a Sunday. You could get like a ticket to a movie for like £1 if you're like it's a part of like a family. And that was like one of the films that was on at that time. So we went to see it, and I remember it was just fish. I don't know. It was pretty cool when I was younger. I don't know. I just thought it was cool, and there we go. That was it. There was this other fish movie. I can't remember. It was like what was it called? The theme track.
Finding Nemo.
I'm a big little fish in the deep blue sea, or something like that. Help, I'm a fish in the deep blue sea. Oh, somebody help me. I don't know what it's called, but that's another fish movie.
No, I don't know what it's called either. I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what? Just continue this, and I'll look it up and I'll tell you.
Right. Fun.
Oh wait, it's called Help, I'm a Fish. There we go.
Okay.
Right. I would give Jack a pass, right? Because that film is actually class. Like, it's a really good
God, what's this?
It's a short one. It's worth it.
Right, yeah, forget about DreamWorks listeners. Go watch that film. What's it again? Remind me.
Help, I'm a Fish.
Right, okay. And when we'll go to other resident fish film expert, Lewis, what was your first memory of watching a DreamWorks animated film?
fucking what a fish expert. Right, I guess because I'm the eldest one, unfortunately, it's watching Ants probably more than I should have. I mean, it's still a great movie off memory, fantastic cast, but it shouldn't have been in the VCR as much as it was for the age that I was and what the movie details. But you know, Stallone being Stallone is like the greatest thing ever. But the one that's going to remember the most is El Dorado. You know, I remember like being younger, throwing that film in, sitting down with my crisps, just loving life, make myself feel good. You know, Elton John the soundtrack. It's meme worthy. Both will do. So yeah, Ants and El Dorado.
Nice. I respect that. As your era as well, you was probably Prince of Egypt. Would probably have cropped up as well for you.
Right. I don't know. Like Prince of Egypt, right? It gets a little bit of a flack because it is like, you know, a religious film, but it's genuinely a good film.
Easy. Tread easy there. You know, but I agree. And on that note, we'll move on to Rhys. The no connection.
Expert.
What do you mean on that note?
Nothing. You know, you can infer from that what you will. Rhys, what is your first memory of watching a DreamWorks animated feature?
I'm not sure what my first memory was. I certainly loved Shark Tale when I was younger, and obviously Shrek. But one of my earliest memories was through like the local like community club thing when I was younger. We had the choice. Well, there was two groups. You could go. We were going to the cinema, and then our cinema. We've got like a massive cinema and like a wee cinema, and it's in the same building. And we had the choice of watching on the big screen Pirates of the Caribbean. I think it was, if my Googling is correct, it would have been Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest or Over the Hedge. And I made the correct decision and went to see Over the Hedge because what a fantastic film it was.
That's a contentious decision, as you might find out, listener, in 2 weeks' time. I'm
sorry, just like the thought process of like Over the Hedge versus Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's just like, yeah, Over the Hedge, solid choice, definitely number one.
Yeah,
what a double bill?
Choice.
No, not double bill. Sorry, but that should have been a double bill. That would have been good. Back to back from no connection.
I don't regret it to this day. The Over the Hedge game as well, that was class. So, you know, I was worth it.
Game, to be fair. Top tier game.
See? I wouldn't have known what I was doing in the game if I hadn't seen it in the cinema.
I was to stick with you, Rhys. I'm guessing Over the Hedge your favourite DreamWorks film then? Or do you have another?
No, it's my second favourite behind the B movie, because the B movie is probably the greatest movie of all time. I particularly love the puns in the B movie. They get me going.
I do enjoy the B movie as well, I have to say. Jack, what's your favourite DreamWorks film?
My favourite DreamWorks film is Shrek 2. Shrek 2 is my favourite. I think it far eclipses every other Shrek movie. I think the humour in it's on point. The soundtrack's amazing. There isn't a bad bit of that movie, and it's rare to have movies that have no bad parts in it. So Shrek 2 for me.
That is impressive. Then I believe which Shrek movie is the best is a huge debate. You're comfortable, you've settled that.
Yeah. We don't even need to do an episode on it. It's just Shrek 2.
He's got a point. I mean, it's hardly a debate. There's only two movies, because anything after the second one just doesn't exist. So it's hardly a debate. Is it the first one or the second one? Oh, I think it's the second one. Me too. Right, move on. Well, good decision, Jack.
Wow. And finally, Lewis, what's your favourite DreamWorks film?
You know, I could easily throw Ants or El Dorado in there just for nostalgia. In terms of quality, one would be deserving, but it's actually How to Train Your Dragon. I didn't watch it when it came out. It appeared on Netflix a few years back. I was so pissed I didn't watch it. It's fucking amazing, man. In terms of like quality performances, it's just fantastic. You know, you've got David Tennant, Gerard Butler, Sharon Stone, Jonah Hill, Jane Burchell as Hiccup. It's fucking great. Fantastic animation and everything.
How to Train a Dragon is a great film, underrated. Rhys, I noticed you scoffed at that
No. I was agreeing.
Oh, you're
agreeing.
agreeing.
Great movie.
I couldn't tell from the tone of your scoff. Apologies.
It took me by surprise. I was fully expecting him to say, and then when he rocks up with how to train your dragon, I was pleasantly surprised.
Fair enough. Now we're gonna briefly move on to a bit of, I guess, debate, comparison. We've talked about it on the show before, and it's the other main kind of animated film company out there, which is Disney Pixar. We had a great episode on that, apart from my pitch. And I just want
PTSD from that fucking thing.
Do the pitch again.
No, don't have long.
We got a couple hours spare. Just go for it.
By the time you get
There's a
back,
woman,
sure it'll
an
be
old
just,
woman. Her clothes fall to the floor. This is all I remember from the start. You lost me at that point.
Honestly, she gets more naked the more you tell the story, I think.
I couldn't help but picture her naked when you were telling it. I don't know why. So...
Right. Not to wander too far off topic. I want to go to Jack on this one. What is it for you that sets DreamWorks apart from Disney Pixar? We're not necessarily talking better for worse, although, I'm sure you probably have a preference, and please let me know. But what is the kind of main differences for you between the two companies?
I think the main difference for me is the style of the movies. I know that they're all animated and they're all primarily aimed at kids, but I feel that the Disney Pixar movies are more innocent in what they're like portraying and the stories they're telling, and they're more maybe kind of not secretive, but they're quite smart in how they like kind of try and connect different things together. Whereas DreamWorks is maybe they try and put a few more kind of adult jokes in there to try and keep the older audience appeased when they're taking their kids to watch these movies, etc. I feel that that's probably the biggest difference for me in the kind of the style of how the movies are presented.
Yeah, so you kind of feel that maybe lean a bit more into the comedic elements of it.
Yeah,
as they would, maybe. Yeah. Rhys, do you think that's a fair assessment? Is there anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I think he's right. I think as a fully grown adult myself, I feel like there isn't really a Pixar movie that I couldn't sit down and watch and still enjoy. Whereas I feel like the DreamWorks movies, they're more catered around children, and then like Jack says, they'll throw in like maybe a dirty joke here and there to keep the audience on board, but more so for the children. Whereas the Pixar movies are actually, I think, genuinely have like good stories, keep you engaged. Even the ones that they're putting out right now, like Soul, I think was a fantastic movie, and I think it would be more appreciated by adults than so for children. And it got a few Oscar nominations, and if I'm not mistaken, actually won an Oscar as well. So the quality of the Pixar movies versus the DreamWorks movies, it's incredibly different.
Well, that's pretty strong stuff. Lewis, would you, again, kind of same thing, would you agree with that? But then what would add is that do you also think that it's like important that the styles are different? Do you think that they fill different niches in the market as well?
I guess I'm kind of in agreement and disagreement. Like, usually I think visually that the films are a little bit different. Like not a huge lot of difference between them. And apparently from, I'm not an expert, but from my 5-minute Google search, there isn't legitimately one. Apparently they're both animated similarly, but I find DreamWorks to be a bit more striking and vibrant and deep in colors. I mean, I know I picked it as one of my favorites, but like How to Train Your Dragon has become a really good example for tech companies to measure their own TVs in terms of color accuracy and things like that. But in terms of like what differentiates between them, I feel like DreamWorks is maybe a bit more mature and deal with themes that are applicable to kids, adults, and everybody in between. Not to say that Disney don't too, but for example, you take similar films, similar because DreamWorks started as a former chairman of Walt Disney, Jeffrey Katzenberg, left Disney and took a bunch of stuff too. But Like if you compare Bug's Life and Ants, they're distinctly different in themes. Like Bug Life about accountability, individuality, and the strength of working together, whereas Ants kind of deals with something darker, like birth privilege, hierarchy, and things like capitalism, royal subjugation, and like knowing your place in society, breaking that mold, making your own, etc. Like they're both important, and I think Ants and more DreamWorks films deal with a bit more maturity and add a bit of humor in there, kind of for everybody in between. But yeah, I think there is a need for them to be different, and this is why they've both been able to be successful. You know, Disney kind of being a bit more kid friendly, kid oriented, and enough to where the parents aren't annoyed to take them to the cinema over and over again, or listen to Frozen long enough to actually enjoy the soundtrack. But I think with DreamWorks, they kind of accelerate a couple of years and deal with a different niche in the market for capitalism terms, just to kind of differentiate themselves, deal with some things a bit more mature, and kind of make them appealing to everybody that can willing to sit down and watch them.
I think there's a whole lot of confusion in there because Frozen isn't obviously Pixar, so it doesn't really fit into the category, because I think Disney movies are definitely catered towards children, whereas Pixar movies are more for adults, which was why I was surprised when you said that DreamWorks movies are more for adults than Pixar movies are. And when you described A Bug's Life, when you were describing Ants, the movie, I thought you were describing A Bug's Life because A Bug's Life is quite clearly about capitalism and the bourgeoisie and stuff like that. But then that's what you described. You said it wasn't about that, and that's what Ants was about. I think they're both about that. I don't know, maybe A Bug's Life did come. It was the first Pixar movie as well, so maybe the key themes and tones weren't portrayed as well, and you maybe missed it. Or just haven't seen it since I think it came out in like '98 or something like that. But I definitely think that Pixar movies are way more catered to an adult audience than certainly Disney movies, but also DreamWorks movies. I think DreamWorks movies are, with it, maybe the exception of Ants. I mean, Adams mentioned, what was it, the Prince of Egypt or whatever it was called, but that is just an animated version of a Bible story, the Book of Exodus. So apart from that, I can't really say a B movie, or it's got some good key themes, but it's really just a joke over the hedge. Shark's Tale. They've got some alright themes, but really they're just for children. Whereas you could pick any Pixar movie, and you could the themes on it are dark, and they are serious, and they are more for adults. I mean, Soul was a bit heartbreaking, and that obviously been the most recent one. Even Cars is heartbreaking, like the stories in it. So I was confused by what you were saying, Lewis.
I guess maybe just for clarity's sake, Disney, maybe I did get Disney Pixar confused, and just to double check, Toy Story was the first one that came out, not A Bug's Life, and I did watch it. But I didn't. Maybe it's the methodology that Disney Pixar use with how they convey their stories. I don't particularly see them as really. They kind of have the theme, it's not core, but it's not really in your face. I think maybe that's where I'm getting it from. Where DreamWorks kind of, some of their films, maybe not all of them, the same way with Pixar, they're a bit more clear and very kind of pushing the message. Where I think Disney kind of let it naturally flow with the story, kind of in the background thing. So I think that's maybe why people prefer Disney Pixar as well. But I'm looking at a list of DreamWorks movies now, and all of them I can kind of see a clear, deeper theme and meaning to them, the same way I can for Pixar. But I just feel like DreamWorks maybe do it a bit differently and more preferable to my nature. I would say Bugs Life and Ants are similar, and apparently there's even some history between that particular movie. I don't know, maybe we'll go over it soon enough, but I feel like Ants just does it in a bit more darker way than A Bug's Life does, and especially dealing with more things that isn't just about power between a lower and upper species. Is things about other, not just subjugation generally, but more specifically with things like royalty and hierarchy, especially in something like the UK, for example, and especially the history of the world. But I think at this point it's almost like nitpicky, but there's definitely strong between the two of them.
Yeah, I think that's Fair enough. It was good debate, guys. Interesting that you said that Ants is a lot darker than A Bug's Life. I think maybe definitely at the time, but looking back now, Bug's Life has Kevin Spacey as a villain, so that stands up a lot darker these days. Right. Well, why don't we move on to another key part of DreamWorks films? Animated films in general, I think it's something that a lot of successful films, some people always mention as the soundtrack. And Jack, I know you're a big fan of the Shrek soundtrack, but just if you can go on about DreamWorks movies in general, I know you probably want to touch a lot on Shrek, but what is it about the soundtrack that you find enjoyable?
I think with DreamWorks movies, I feel that a lot of the soundtracks is more commercial, more kind of mainstream than what Disney soundtracks are going to be. They're kind of more of the either classical music or they're trying to tell a story through the soundtrack. Whereas a lot of the DreamWorks movies, I feel that it's just like songs for that moment, and that's it. I think that's kind of one of the key differences. But as the majority is kind of pretty poppy and relates to like young kids to make them enjoy what's happening, etc. Like for example, like in Shark Tale, you had Christina Aguilera singing in it, and then when you've got Shrek, you've got Smash Mouth and etc. So it's very how they're able to do it.
Sorry. You've just mentioned Shrek and you've gone for Smash Mouth, but you've totally missed out Jeff Buckley. Are we talking about real music here? Are we talking about all-star Smash Mouth? What's going on? You've disgraced this podcast by doing that.
I don't care enough, Rhys. I'm passive. Counting Crows is there too. Accidentally love.
Great.
There you go. But I
will never not die on that Jeff Buckley hill.
I think that's the difference there, Adam.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Rhys, you're very eager to jump in there. Have you got any thoughts on the soundtracks in DreamWorks films?
Well, I love the fact that they put Jeff Buckley, Hallelujah, in Shrek. Some of the songs in Shrek are actually brilliant, and in Shark Tale as well. Jack mentioned when Christina Aguilera, the fish, starts singing Car Wash, or Whale Wash. I loved that. That was brilliant. But I feel like Jack's maybe right there. I feel like when you talk about Disney movies like Frozen and that, it's kind of they use the song to portray what's happening in the actual movie and the scene at the time, whereas like Christina Aguilera singing Whale Wash at the end of a movie, that's just fun. Smash All Star by Smash Mouth, that's just fun. These are good additions to the movie. So I think Jack was right in saying that they've gone for more like mainstream pop music and just put that into the song, and it kind of gets you engaged in somehow that you get a great meme out of it that's lasted like 15 or 20 years. So it's great.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Lewis, I want to just kind of come to you on this, and that we've talked about DreamWorks maybe using their songs almost for comedic effect, and while Disney would probably use their soundtrack as more kind of make things more impactful. Do you think that's kind of a fair enough? It kind of goes with what we talked about in the tones of these movies, that alongside DreamWorks maybe leaning a bit more comedic crutch at times compared to Disney, and the soundtrack kind of reflects that.
Yeah, 100%. Like, as much as my previous answer may make it seem like I'm like Team DreamWorks, DreamWorks are like 1B and Disney Pixar is 1A. When a Disney song hits in a Pixar film or in any other film, it makes the scene in more of a way that like the song becomes the scene, instead of like the way DreamWorks use it, where it's like almost an enhancement or like a distraction or sort of like a like a background thing to try and evoke more emotion. When you watch a Disney film with a song, it's so ingrained in such a way that it becomes part of the film, where in DreamWorks you have like Shakira, and it's just it doesn't feel the same. It feels a bit cheap, and sometimes, don't get me wrong, there's some great examples for it, like the montage in El Dorado by Elton John. Like, I don't know the song, and it's not as great as what he did in other films for Disney Pixar, but there's moments of greatness in them, but it does seem to kind of cheapen the movie a little bit, where it's just kind of thrown in on top as almost like a filter to kind of try and get the watcher to feel more emotion, which is what soundtracks are used for. But the way Disney, Pixar, and Disney use them, it's unrivaled, the way that they can blend it into the movie in such a way that it just becomes part of the essence of the actual film.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. Rhys, I'll come to you. You're the guy I like to go to for some of the controversial topics. And this isn't even that controversial, but do you think it's a fair assessment to say that DreamWorks maybe makes, I don't want to say poor quality films, but maybe has a films that maybe they don't land as well as a Disney Pixar? If we're still kind of on that debate. They maybe, because you look at the list of Disney Pixar films, and I think they're very unlikely that you've not heard of. Like there's very few films in the list you won't have heard of. At the very least, people won't have recommended to you, or you've not seen yourself. But you look at a list of DreamWorks animated films. I can see 6-7 films here that I've never watched. No one's ever told me to watch, or if someone has told me about them, it's been a negative thing. Do you think that's fair that maybe they missed the mark a few more times than Disney Pixar do?
I think at this point in time, the way that Pixar has performed up until now, they release a film maybe once every 2 years, sometimes once a year, and the films have been such a good quality up until now that when they release a new film, the newest film comes out next month, I believe, or this month when it comes out, and it's called Luca.
June 18th.
There's so much hype around it. There you go. There's so much hype around it because people are emotionally invested in Pixar movies. Every time you watch a Pixar movie, it hits different. You are emotionally attached to the movie, and every time I watch one, I feel like I end up recommending it to someone. When I watch a DreamWorks movie, I love some of them. I love B Movie. I love Over the Hedge, Shrek 2, what a movie, Shark Tale. But I would say to someone, oh, you need to watch this movie. It's fantastic because they're great movies. They're hilarious. They're fun. I'm not emotionally invested in them. I don't really care how they go, and I feel like everyone who watches DreamWorks movies. I mean, we were about to do this episode where we all had a discussion at one point. It's like, what DreamWorks movies actually are there? Because the brand DreamWorks, we're not attached to that. They haven't led us to this point, whereas Pixar have. We are attached to what they're putting out because of what they've put out so far. It's just been fantastic.
I'd agree with Rhys on that. It's quite weird that we all have that kind of attachment to when like a movie like you say that Luca's coming out June 18th. We're like, oh, that's the latest Disney Pixar movie. But say there's a DreamWorks movie coming out, you would never say, oh, the latest DreamWorks movie is coming out. You just say, oh, so and so's coming out. Then it's like, say for instance, like Shrek 5, even though that's never happened. Say that's meant to come out, you wouldn't say, oh, the latest DreamWorks movie is coming out. You would never say that. You would just say, oh, Shrek 5's coming out then. It's weird that even though it's the array of content that DreamWorks has with all their stuff, and it is good content, they never have that connection for fans to say, here's the latest DreamWorks animation movie. It's just each thing's their own entity. Whereas like kind of Pixar's out, I feel like they're able to collectively group everything together.
Yeah, I think that's actually, it's funny. I was going to phrase that, the last thing you said in a question to Lewis, that was what I was going to go into, was that, no, it's good.
You're just too wise, Jack.
Wise well on my age.
Because I was just going to say that, do you think the reason that is because there's not a kind of overarching, although there's not, we know, kind of that the Pixar films are related, but it's not official. We don't really know how. But then there is that kind of theme. But like even the fact that would exist, it suggests that maybe there's connections there. So you kind of just follow on what Jack said.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with DreamWorks is like they've actually got a movie coming out before Luca, and it's a sequel to one of the, at least when I speak to people, one of the more revered films, Spirit. Like there's a Spirit 2 coming out June 4th. I didn't know that. The reason I know that is because I researched some stuff for the podcast coming up. So it's like when I'm gonna give a sport analogy because I understand everything through violence. When Pixar make a movie, they're Mike Tyson. They hit you and they hit you hard. But then DreamWorks, I would say, are kind of like Deontay Wilder, where if they hit, it hurts, but they miss more often than they do. I think that kind of waters down the product a little bit. And the fact there's no lot of continuity between them, it kind of is a bit of an issue. Like, don't get me wrong, like Shrek hits hard. Kung Fu Panda, I don't care what anybody says, that film is amazing. I was dying laughing watching part of Kung Fu Panda 3 the other day. Like, there's some good movies in there, but it just doesn't seem to, they don't have that same sort of recognition, that same sort of care, and people don't have the same sort of pride and feeling towards those kind of movies because they don't seem to hit quite as hard as Mike Tyson does.
Yeah, sounds. I think that's an excellent analogy. Just to continue with that, is there a film company that stands out as the Muhammad Ali of the?
That was exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, Legendary Film Studios.
Nice, I like it.
No, I've had to compare a film studio to Muhammad Ali. Netflix.
I was going to say Sony Animations.
Sony Animations, what the fuck have they made?
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. So, 1-0.
Fair, that is an actual quality film.
Well, there you go. It hits hard. And
Well,
when you try and come for Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is up in the corner, you try and punch it, it's just dodging all the punches. I don't know either.
I mean, I'm looking at the list right now. It's pretty weak. You got Open Season, Surf's Up, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Hey, there's a good one. Smurfs, Arthur Christmas,
Great.
Hotel
Arthur
Transylvania,
Christmas, like
Goosebumps.
Oh, Hotel Transylvania. Oh.
Angry
Hotel
Birds movie 1 and 2. Peter Rabbit.
Okay. Stop with
Yeah,
Peter
yeah,
Rabbit.
that's
James
fine.
Corden did that. Shit. Wait, that's done.
Look forward to a month's time when we do the Sony
Sorry,
Animation Studios crossover.
Yeah. Rhys, what film studio would you say is the Jake Paul?
The Jake Paul. Well, it's got. Well, let me just 1 second look up really good.
Lionsgate, 'cause
Film.
without them, we wouldn't have the Saw movies.
Oh, are we going
I
with
don't
that, Rhys?
know.
No, you don't know. Okay, well,
Yeah,
I like
Nobody
that.
mentions the Jake Paul guy.
I've ended up on Reddit here. Oh, someone said
He's the
Sony's the
wine
worst. So there you go.
Right, back to go away from that. Do we have any of you? This is I'm throwing this into the group. Have any ever watched the TV shows associated with a lot of DreamWorks properties? Because if you look, there's actually some of these films have up to 12 seasons. How to Train Your Dragon has a show with 10 seasons. Madagascar's got a show with 9 seasons. There's also a lot of them have quite a lot of short films. They do lean heavily on Shrek, 6 TV seasons, 8 short films. Have any ever caught any of these TV series? And do you have any thoughts on them when you've seen them?
I know of the Shrek ones because I think some are Christmas related and they're usually on BBC One round at that time, and it's the wee short stuff. But I genuinely couldn't have told you that there was like actual TV series related to DreamWorks stuff like Madagascar and whatnot. But it doesn't surprise me given the nature that it is probably aimed at kids, so that like they would know it'd be on like your kids' TV channels, and that would be it. It's not kind of like a main focus anywhere. So I'm not surprised that there is, but I just genuinely haven't heard of any before.
Yeah, I'm looking through some of them right now, and they are definitely like 4-year-old and down. Although there is a Fast and Furious TV series by DreamWorks Animation. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, that's on Netflix. I watched Hobbs and Shaw the other day, and it was an advert for it, and it was on Netflix. I was looking at it, and I was like, "This just looks terrible." It's animated as well. I couldn't understand any of it. I've seen the Madagascar TV show. I think that was on Nickelodeon, and Penguins of Madagascar as well. That came out around about the same time. You know, they were all right. They were box office or anything like that, so I wouldn't recommend them. But
Yeah, I
you
don't
know,
think any of these
I
were
just
out
don't see
when I
what
was
the
watching
point is.
TV.
Well, I would say though the Pixar shorts that they do before the movies, oh, tearjerkers. The one for the Incredibles 2, where the old woman turns her son into a dumpling and then eats them. You know, really getting shit going. Tears.
That was.
I was in the cinema thinking, what is going on?
Do you remember the short? And this is a complete sidetrack. I think it was for Toy Story, and like there's a little toy soldier that's playing with like a baby, but he's terrified because he keeps on finding like broken toys. I sent a picture of this to the group chat. The animation of that baby is fucking terrifying.
Oh my gosh! Let me have a look.
Let me have a look.
Let's see if I can.
I don't know. You've not said it right now, so I'm not looking for it. But I
Oh,
take
not
your word
right
for
now.
it.
No. Sorry.
Right.
It was. I said it a while ago, but honestly, if you haven't seen that, or anybody here hasn't seen the Toy Story shorts prior to the movie, it might actually even been Monsters Inc. I can't remember. They're on Disney Plus. All the shorts now. They're actually not really good, but that particular one, if you watch it, prepare to be absolutely terrified by one of the worst animated babies I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I think that settles the Pixar DreamWorks debate, because every time we start talking about DreamWorks, we ended up talking about something we like from Pixar. So there you go. Take a vote on it. But we did ask you guys, what did you think? What was better? Yep, and I have it. Yep. Oh, Disney Pixar. 75% you said Disney Pixar. 25% said DreamWorks. Thanks for all that voted, and don't forget you can find us on all the socials at _the_big_picture. We also asked, what was your favourite DreamWorks film? We did have a response. Jordan Graham says Shark Tale. Jack, what do you think about
that? Doesn't surprise me. You know, good brother, good guy. Knows his Will Smith films just as well as his older brother, so it's a great. But I just checked the Instagram there, Adam, as well, and Grant and Colin also say Shrek too. So friends of mine also have good taste in movies apparently as well for their DreamWorks stuff. So all round, I'm pretty happy.
And I have just seen the baby. It's terrifying. Sorry, Rhys.
Jack, should we do a Will Smith episode?
I think we should. I think it's kind of got to the point that it needs to be done now.
Just to appease Jack. We'll make him host it as well.
Well, why don't we we'll ask you guys on Twitter.
What's your favourite Will Smith movie?
We'll be here all day.
Yeah.
He's giving us his whole filmography. We'll save it for the episode.
I'll tell you, it's not Wild Wild West.
Oh, that's, some would say, controversial.
What would a Will Smith crossover with Will Smith movie look like?
Gemini Man.
All the same character.
Phenomenal.
It's Gemini Man. Fucking make it.
Right, well, you got more patter like that coming up in the Will Smith episode. The next 3 months. And I think we've discussed DreamWorks as much as we can. And now for anyone who listened to the Disney Pixar episode, which will be all of you, you'll know that we pitched a crossover. We pitched which films would work best together, and we pitched a plot. And some of the pitches in that episode were strong. And just to reiterate, not mine. Now, I want to go to the guys. I will go to you guys first, and then I will reveal what Stuart's pitch was at the end. And so I want to go to Rhys. What films in the DreamWorks universe would you want to cross over?
Well, here we go. I've decided to do a crossover as a sequel to both movies. It's, of course, a crossover between the B movie and Shutter Island. So here it goes. Fresh after getting his law degree, Barry B. Benson is ready to fight for the little guy. He hears about a man who is about to be executed for his failure to accept reality. But Barry has heard that Teddy Daniels may actually be lying, which would make the execution illegal and unethical. Upon hearing this news, Barry is in disbelief. The story makes it to the news and there's a buzz all around the world. Barry becomes a solicitor for Daniels and the case goes to trial. Both parties give their sides and the jury go into the room to decide. They can't decide who, if he's guilty or if he's not guilty or, of crimes against humanity or whatever. So they come up with an idea. They split the group into two and they both give their views. So at the end of it, each group gets 2 balls. They could be orange or yellow or maybe gold. I don't know. Anyway, each group gets 2 balls each. One for guilty and one for not guilty. If they pick the same, then they obviously agree. If they pick the opposite, then it goes to not proven. But you can steal the vote by catching this flying ball, which was nothing to do with the Phantom upset that I missed the Harry Potter episode. Anyway, the flying ball, we can call at this point the Spitch. That's just a name that came off the top of my head. And it's caught at the end. But the big twist is they don't get to see by who. So we never know if he was found guilty or not guilty. And that is my pitch.
Wow, I just had to let that sit for a second there. Interesting. I'm surprised you didn't go for Prince of Egypt cross or something, but then I don't know if that's against your religion to cross it over with other films. Any questions about that, Jack?
I don't know. I think I'm just more surprised that we've spent the full time talking about animation films, and then you've crossed over B movie with Shutter Island.
I don't see the issue.
Oh, I'm not saying an issue. I'm just saying I'm just surprised. But that's that's your call, your prerogative, and all that.
Well, it's a good point, Jack. You make a great point. But recently, when we did the best sitcom podcast, you did the social media post for it, and even though it was best live action sitcom, you put Rick and Morty in it. So these things happen. We bit of oversight on my part. We bit oversight in yours.
I think just for audience clarity's sake, we should maybe say that when we're discussing this episode, we opened it up to every single DreamWorks production movie ever, which also includes the likes of Gladiator. So there are some possibilities of insanity there, but I can't believe what I just heard.
We're not having discussed normal DreamWorks before now.
Yeah,
could we get into it? Well, it's a big studio, right? You've got to compartmentalize it into one thing if we don't want to be here all day. So yeah, I decided to let the creative juices of the panel flow, and we just got that pitch. So was that right?
You just the audience. What were your thoughts?
Does a man's life hang in the balance between a Bumblebee version of Harry Potter's Quidditch?
No, I think you missed the point. It's not just Quidditch. It's also golden balls. So it's it's a crossover between B movie, Shutter Island, Golden Balls, and Harry Potter. So, and they're 4 great films. Well, Golden Balls isn't that film, but you know what I mean. I promise, next time I do a pitch, I'll take it seriously.
Wow. Quiet in the courtroom, please. I'll go for the only person not laughing. That's Jack Graham. Jack, well, save us. What's your pitch?
So I stuck with the animation for my pitch, and I have done a crossover of Shark Tale and Flushed Away, and it's called flushed away a shark's tail, and just something out there with everything, And the story goes, it follows on from the end of Flushed Away, but what happens? Roddy and Rita get flushed away again, and where do they get flushed away to? They get flushed away to the whale wash. Ernie and Bernie, they're doing their usual shtick when they're like, "Oh, welcome to Whale Wash. We promise you a whale of a wash," and the price. Roddy and Rita fall right in front of them, and that's when they say, "Oh my gosh."
Oh my gosh.
Rhys gets it. Then the whole whale wash just set alarms go blazing as these creatures that has never been in about the place before, and ultimately the whale wash gets absolutely destroyed, powers down, and it's Oscar's fault in the eyes of Frankie, and it's up to Roddy, Rita, Oscar's girlfriend Angie to fix the whale wash. Jack Black's there as all with Lenny. Just get it back to where it usually was, and they all have a sing song at the end, and it's all very, very happy. And I think another reason why, that's just a basic plot of it, but I think another reason why I would do a film like that together is just how good the cast is for both films. You've got, as I said, Will Smith, you've got Jack Black, Martin Scorsese, Angelina Jolie, Renee Zellweger, Robert De Niro from Shark Tale, and over at Flushed Away, you've got Hugh Jackman, Ian McKellen, Bill Nye, Kate Winslet, and don't forget Shane Ritchie from EastEnders. So I think that two casts like that come together for a big kind of power movie for DreamWorks. Maybe it's something they need. I don't know, but that's the direction I'd go for my crossover.
Nice. I like it. I would watch it. I would laugh. I'm sure it's kind of what my dad would watch and enjoy as well. So that's a real vote of confidence. Rhys, do you got any thoughts on that? Any questions for Jack?
Jack, I'm going to be honest with you here. I absolutely loved the title for this movie. Flushed Away into a Shark's Tail. Yeah, it's the least creative thing we've ever heard. That's why I love it. So, unless Lewis's title is better than that, you've got my vote.
It works and it does the job, it's just, it does what it says in the tin.
Well, you're not wrong.
What about you, Lewis? You got any questions for Jack?
Other than how does a rat make it all the way to the bottom of the ocean where whales live and survive, I don't, but I'm fucked in this pitch. I'm losing straight away.
The good thing is it survives because it's a movie, so that they allow it to work. That's my logic I've got for it. That's all I have.
No, I've no questions, but like Rhys says, that title that's A1. That's
Wow, indeed. Lewis, I think you're in my chance. I really do. So why don't you tell us what your pitch is?
Yeah, I don't. So, unlike Rhys and like Jack, I kind of didn't venture into everything DreamWorks has ever done. Maybe I should have now and taken it a little less seriously. But How to Train Your Dragon meets Kung Fu Panda. That's what I'm going for. Before I begin, I won't take up too much time here. We need to discuss the marvelous masterpiece that Kung Fu Panda films are, from story, comedy, action to message to performance, all the way over at arch and story. Phenomenal film, top tier. Watch it. Anyway, I'm losing this pitch already. I can tell, but we'll continue. Kung Fu Panda 3 ends with Po coming full circle as the Dragon Warrior by defeating Kai, saving the Spirit Realm, return the chi of all the others, and declare Dragon Warrior by Oogway, his predecessor. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World ends with Toothless and Light Fury creating hybrid dragons, Hiccup declaring that humanity can't live peacefully with dragons, so they'll stay hidden until they can, protected by the Bergens. So, in my crossover, due to Poe's venture into the Spirit Realm, it's caused a sort of rift in the realm that allows spirits to travel more freely to the real world, and there will still be rules attached to the spirits that apply to them in the real world. Just like yin and yang, everything must be balanced. Harmony exists between the real world and the spirit realm, and due to both roles as a master and a trainer and his previous venture, Poe is seen as a spiritual master. Over in Hiccup Land, peace among the tribes exists now that dragons are gone. Years have gone by and Hiccup and the crew are older. In the world of dragons, Toothless stands atop, almost like a king. Now, spirits have started to wander among them, friends and family united for both dragons and humans. However, as mentioned, everything must be balanced. And due to the war with dragons, both humans and dragons have come in contact with those that died, and sort of anti-dragon, anti-human sentiment grows. And this sentiment is felt by the old spirits. Slowly, this energy magnifies itself and takes form in a spirit and takes over one of Toothless' children, now fully grown, slowly spinning and developing a plan to rid the humans and take over both realms. Oogway in the spirit realm finds a way to warn both Poe and Hiccup at the cost of his own essence after a battle with his vengeful spirit. Now Poe and Hiccup find themselves linked and must unite both realms of humans, dragon, and spirits together to fight this new vengeful evil. Ultimately coming ahead with a difficult choice, saving both Toothless' child, potentially cutting off the spirit realm from the world from good. This decision leads to a fracturing of relationship between Hiccup, Toothless, Poe, and all the spirits. Can they come over the odds?
Nice, nice. I like it. Jack, any questions for Lewis?
Will it be titled How to Train Your Kung Fu Panda or Kung Fu Dragon?
That's just exactly what I was gonna ask. This is Lewis. I just wanted to know. This is huge. If you get this right, you could be getting a vote here.
It's going to be called Everybrew Kung Fu Panda Dragon.
Interesting.
So sorry, Lewis. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, I resigned myself to not winning based on the fact that I kind of went for something that I think could actually exist.
Well, I liked your crossover. I like that you gave us the connection device to cross over the two movies, much like you had a portal, I had a sewage system, and it's how we can get it to work. But I liked what you're able to present. Well done.
Jack, why didn't you mention?
Oh, bees are just everywhere, aren't they?
Well, exactly. I picked the bee movie where bees actually live with humans and talk to them. You know, it made sense. Great thinking, Rhys. Thanks. Lewis, I'll be honest here. Here's my thoughts. Loved it. Out of the three pictures, I think it's the best one. So you'll be surprised when I don't vote for you, because Jack's title has just blown me away. It's the greatest title of all times. How can you not vote for that? So I'm sorry to say, Lewis, best pitch doesn't win in this case, I'm afraid. Unless, of course, you vote for me, and after a three-way tie, we put it down to I don't know.
Well,
this is Golden Balls, the big picture. Steal or lie.
Golden Balls, B movie, Shutter Island, Harry Potter. It's the crossover we've all been asking for.
I was gonna ask it. Well, please, guys, send me in your votes. Do you want to vote for Rhys with Shutter Island, the B movie, Jack with Flushed Away, A Shark's Tale, or do you want to vote for Lewis with How to Train Your Dragon and Kung Fu Panda, or do you want to vote for Stuart? I know you're gonna have to imagine what this pitch would have been. But you went for Monsters vs. Aliens crossed with Shrek, crossed with the Prince of Egypt. Now that would have the socks out. Yeah. If you can think of a title for that.
Wait, what are they again?
Monsters vs. Aliens, crossed with Shrek, crossed with the Prince of Egypt.
Yeah, Monsters vs. Aliens. That's a great movie. We never talked about that, but it's fantastic. Right.
Monsters versus Shrek. Monsters versus Prince of Egypt.
Yeah, so I was gonna say. Although I don't know if we should be against the Prince of Egypt, but that's a story for another day.
How just like the
monsters and aliens versus Shrek and the Prince of Egypt.
Whoa.
That's pretty good. Oh, that's pretty good. Rhys, how do you like how do you think the church would receive a movie like that?
How do I think the church? Which church?
Your own one.
My church.
Specifically.
Specifically, like the church that I go to, like the overall church.
Whichever one you think would give a better reaction.
Both wouldn't care. Yeah, probably wouldn't even. So.
Yeah, like movies like Constantine exist. I think the church would be more worried about them than it would be fucking Monsters versus Aliens versus Shrek versus fucking Prince of Egypt.
Right. Well, would you believe we have a freeway tie?
I'm surprised I didn't get all three votes. because I would have voted for myself. I could.
Now, it falls to me, the host.
For the meme, for the meme, for the meme.
Choose. And the
I
winner.
couldn't believe how many puns you managed to drizzle in there like honey. I was buzzing.
Exactly. Lewis was right.
Nice.
Lewis was buzzing. I was buzzing. I was
Nice.
humming and hawing about how many puns to put in.
You know, you were sprinkling it in there like pollen. It's almost like an allergy season.
Wow. Maybe Lewis should have written Rhys's pitch.
And then my pitch stung the hearts of the listeners at home.
Well, with that, I've come to my decision. It's a tough one. It was. We had 3 pitches. Some out there, some very outrageous.
Wait, Adam, can I sway you if I come up with a title? What about the Shutter B Island Golden Balls Harry Potter Golden Snitch Island movie?
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for Kung Fu Panda and How to Train Your Dragon. I think that as much as I did like Jack and Rhys's pitch, I think it had the most natural connection of the 2 films. I think Lewis worked it really well. I like the way the stories interconnected. We got characters from the old films. It worked really well together. So Lewis, congratulations, you are this week's Big Picture champion.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's like the last 2 wins have been so hollow because somebody else has done something better than me. I still won. Mediocrity wins, people.
Harsh on yourself, I think. Jack, commiserations. How do you feel?
Yeah, sure.
Good.
Rolling
Rhys,
that one.
how are you feeling?
Upset. I just can't believe I didn't win. I really thought B-movie Shutter Island, B-movie crossover with Golden Balls, Harry Potter, Quidditch Snitch would have won. It's surprising to get both of votes. We live and we learn. On to the next episode.
Well, speaking of the next episode, Master Graham, feel free to tell the audience what's in store.
Something I am very much looking forward to. It's been on all of our big picture minds recently whenever we've been speaking and just randomly throwing out quotes here and there. We are going to fix the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. But the one rule is that you're not allowed to pitch the original trilogy being the only Pirates of the Caribbean movie out there. There has to be a sequel, and your sequel has to fix the franchise.
Wow, it's a tough one. It's a lot of constraints. Rhys will be hosting it because he's the biggest Pirates of the Caribbean fan and he knows all the films back to back. Rhys, hit me with a quote from the Pirates of the Caribbean films.
I've got the dirt.
And I think with that, it's time to say goodbye. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next time.